Self-confidence is not something you stumble upon by accident. It is something you consciously create, nurture, and protect. Many people think it's a gift you are born with, as if some people are just naturally confident, while others are doomed to live in insecurity. But confidence is not a gift, it's a skill. It's the result of the choices you make, the habits you build, and the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. True confidence doesn't come from wearing the right clothes, speaking loudly, or pretending to be someone you are not. Those are masks, and masks eventually slip. Real confidence is quiet but unshakable. It's the certainty that you can handle whatever life throws at you because you faced your fears, stood your ground, and proven to yourself, again and again, that you are capable. The foundation of self-confidence is self-trust. If you cannot trust yourself to follow through on your own word, you will always feel shaky inside, no matter how much you try to look strong outside. Think about it. When you promise yourself you'll wake up early, and then you hit snooze repeatedly, what happens? You teach your brain that your own words mean nothing. Over time, that erodes your inner respect. But when you follow through, even on small commitments, you begin to stack evidence in your own mind that you are reliable, and this evidence becomes the backbone of confidence. Another key to building unshakable self-confidence is to stop living under the weight of others' opinions. The moment you make your self-worth dependent on other people's approval, you hand them the power to control how you feel about yourself. And people are unpredictable. Today they might praise you, tomorrow they might criticize you for the very same thing. If you want unshakable confidence, your self-assessment must be rooted in your own values, not the shifting moods of the crowd. Confidence grows through action, not theory. You cannot read your way into self-belief or think your way into courage. You have to put yourself in situations where you stretch beyond your comfort zone, where you risk embarrassment, where you face the possibility of failing, and do it anyway. And do it anyway. Every time you survive a challenge you once feared, you grow a little stronger, a little braver. This accumulation of experiences builds a self-image that says, I can handle it, and that belief becomes unbreakable over time. And finally, confidence is deeply tied to how you speak to yourself in private. If the voice in your head is constantly doubting, criticizing, or belittling you, you will never feel powerful, no matter how much you achieve. The language you use with yourself becomes the lens through which you see the world. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you are deeply committed to encouraging, firm when necessary, but always with belief in your potential. Confidence is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of it. It is not about having all the answers, it's about knowing you'll find the answers as you go. It is not about being perfect, it's about being willing to show up as you are and still give your best. Self-confidence is often misunderstood as something people are simply born with, as if it's a genetic trait that some are blessed with and others are not. In truth, it is a skill, one that anyone can learn, practice, and strengthen over time. Thinking of confidence as a skill changes everything because it means you are not a prisoner to your current level of self-belief. It means you can take deliberate actions every single day to grow it. Just like learning to play a musical instrument or mastering a sport, building confidence requires intentional effort, repetition, and patience. You don't expect to play a flawless melody the first time you touch a piano, and you shouldn't expect unshakable confidence to appear overnight. The first step to treating confidence as a skill is to see it as a muscle. Every time you engage in activities that challenge your comfort zone, you give that muscle a workout. The more you work it, the stronger it becomes. This is why people who seem naturally confident are usually those who have consistently faced situations that push them, rather than staying in places of safety. They've had many small victories over time, and those victories have built a solid, internal belief system. But building this skill requires intention. You have to decide that confidence is something worth developing, because without that conscious decision, you'll keep falling back into the habit of waiting to feel ready before you act. And readiness is a trap. It never comes before action. Readiness comes as a result of action. If you wait until you feel confident to take the first step, you'll stay stuck where you are. Instead, you take the step while your hands are trembling, while your heart is racing, while your voice is shaking. And then, when you look back and realize you did something despite the fear, your brain rewires itself to believe you are capable of more. This skill also grows from self-awareness. You need to recognize the moments where you unintentionally sabotage your own confidence by feeding your mind with thoughts of doubt and inadequacy. Most people who struggle with low confidence spend more time rehearsing failure in their heads than rehearsing success. If you want to grow this skill, you must change that mental habit. Visualize yourself succeeding, speaking up, taking charge, making progress. Your mind is like a fertile field. It will grow whatever seeds you plant in it, whether those seeds are empowering or destructive. Another crucial element is celebrating progress, no matter how small. Confidence grows in the presence of acknowledgement. If you accomplish something you once thought was difficult, and you quickly dismiss it as nothing special, you rob yourself of the mental fuel that would help the next challenge feel easier. Learn to pause and recognize your effort, not just the outcome. Each time you do, you're reinforcing the skill of self-confidence by telling your mind, I can trust myself to try, and I can trust myself to follow through. Lastly, confidence as a skill demands consistency. Sporadic efforts won't get you very far. Just as a muscle weakens if you stop using it, your self-belief will shrink if you stop feeding it through action and affirmation. This doesn't mean you have to do something grand every day. Even the smallest acts, speaking up in a meeting, trying something new, holding your posture with pride, are training sessions for your confidence muscle. Over time, these repetitions compound, and you begin to notice that the root of most confidence struggles lies in the way we speak to ourselves internally. Every human being has an inner dialogue, a constant stream of thoughts that either supports them or tears them down. Unfortunately, many people have allowed this inner voice to become their harshest critic rather than their greatest ally. Instead of encouraging themselves, they replay mistakes, highlight flaws, and magnify insecurities. This negative inner dialogue becomes the lens through which they view the world, and inevitably, it distorts their self-perception. Changing this internal conversation is one of the most powerful ways to build unshakable self-confidence because it directly affects how you think, feel, and act in every situation. Your mind believes what you tell it most often. If you constantly tell yourself you are not capable, not ready, not good enough, your brain accepts those statements as facts, even when they are not. Over time, these thoughts carve deep mental pathways, making them the default way you process challenges. To shift your confidence, you must deliberately interrupt this negative pattern and replace it with a more empowering one. This is not about lying to yourself or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about choosing to focus on your strengths, your progress, and your ability to grow. The language you use with yourself matters deeply. Words are not neutral. They carry emotional weight. Saying to yourself, I'm a failure after a setback is completely different from saying, I made a mistake and I can learn from it. One closes the door to growth, the other opens it wide. Every time you consciously choose empowering language, you are training your mind to respond to difficulties with resilience rather than self-doubt. Over time, this shift in language becomes second nature, and confidence becomes your default state, rather than something you have to force. A practical way to transform your inner dialogue is to become aware of your mental triggers. Notice when you begin to spiral into self-criticism. It might happen when you compare yourself to others, when you face a new challenge, or when you receive feedback. In those moments, pause and challenge the thoughts running through your mind. Ask yourself, is this thought absolutely true? And is this thought helping me become the person I want to be? Often, you'll find that your inner critic is making exaggerated or baseless claims that don't stand up to scrutiny. This awareness weakens the grip of negative self-talk. Another important step is to actively feed your mind with affirmations and constructive thoughts that reinforce your self-worth. This doesn't mean repeating empty slogans you don't believe. It means crafting statements that are both positive and believable for you, such as I am capable of learning new skills, or I have overcome challenges before, and I can do it again. Repeating these regularly, especially in moments of self-doubt, begins to overwrite the old, limiting beliefs. You must also be patient with this process. Negative self-talk habits are often years, even decades, in the making. It's unrealistic to expect them to disappear overnight. The key is persistence. Each time you replace a self-critical thought with a constructive one, you are laying another brick in the foundation of your confidence. Eventually, you reach a point where the inner critic loses its power, and your inner voice becomes a steady source of encouragement and belief in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Confidence is not simply a mental state. It is also deeply tied to the way you carry yourself physically. Your body and your mind are in constant communication, and each influences the other in ways most people underestimate. The posture you hold, the way you walk into a room, the expressions you wear on your face, all of these send powerful signals, not only to others but also to your own brain. When your body communicates strength, openness, and assurance, your mind begins to align with those signals, creating a feedback loop that reinforces your self-belief. Think about the times you have felt uncertain or anxious. Chances are your shoulders slouched, your gaze dropped to the floor, and your movements became small and hesitant. This body language doesn't just reflect a lack of confidence. It actually deepens it. Your brain receives these physical cues and interprets them as a need to stay cautious, which only fuels the internal feeling of insecurity. On the other hand, when you deliberately adopt a posture of strength, standing tall, keeping your chest open, making steady eye contact, you are sending your brain a completely different message, one of readiness, capability, and control. There is science behind this connection. Studies in psychology and neuroscience have shown that body language can influence the production of hormones. For example, expansive, upright postures tend to increase testosterone levels, which are associated with assertiveness, and decrease cortisol levels, which are linked to stress. This means that simply adjusting how you sit, stand, or move can create a measurable shift in how confident you feel, even before you have changed a single thought. Beyond posture, the way you use gestures and movement also impacts your confidence. Open gestures, such as uncrossed arms, visible and relaxed shoulders, signal approachability and self-assuredness. They help you connect with others more easily, which in turn reinforces your confidence in social situations. Similarly, purposeful movements, rather than rushed or jittery ones, convey calm control both to observers and to your own nervous system. When your movements are intentional, you feel more in command of the situation, and that feeling naturally builds confidence. Facial expressions play a critical role as well. A genuine smile, for instance, can instantly shift not only how others perceive you but also how you perceive yourself. Smiling releases endorphins and serotonin, which improve mood and help dissolve feelings of tension. Maintaining a relaxed but alert expression signals to your brain that you are safe and capable, and this directly counters the physical sensations of fear or self-doubt. Voice tone is another underestimated factor in physical confidence. A clear, steady, and well-paced voice projects assurance, even when you might feel nervous inside. The act of speaking with intentional clarity forces you to breathe more deeply, slow your pace, and ground yourself, all of which support a more confident state of mind. Practicing strong vocal delivery in everyday conversations builds the muscle memory needed to carry that same presence into higher pressure situations. The key to mastering the physical side of confidence is consistent awareness and practice. This is not about pretending to be someone you are not, but about aligning your physical presence with the best, most capable version of yourself. By making small adjustments, lifting your head, straightening your back, holding steady eye contact, you send constant reminders to your brain that you are in control. Over time, these physical cues stop feeling forced and become your natural state, turning confidence into a habit rather than a performance. The people you surround yourself with play an enormous role in shaping how you see yourself and how you carry that self-image into the world where they then perform. Human beings are wired to be influenced by their environment, especially by those they interact with regularly. Every conversation you have, every piece of feedback you receive, and every attitude you witness from the people close to you either nourishes or erodes your self-confidence. If you spend most of your time around people who doubt themselves, criticize others harshly, or project negativity, it is inevitable that some of that mindset will seep into your own thinking. On the other hand, if you make a conscious effort to connect with individuals who believe in growth, possibility, and empowerment, your own sense of confidence will rise naturally. Confidence is contagious, but so is insecurity. When you see people acting courageously, their goals despite challenges, and speaking positively about themselves, it subconsciously gives you permission to do the same. Their energy becomes a mirror, reflecting back the potential you may not always recognize in yourself. This is why it's important to evaluate your circle and ask yourself whether the people in it challenge you to be your best or subtly encourage you to shrink. Even one supportive, inspiring person in your life can make a dramatic difference in how you perceive your own abilities. It is not just about finding people who constantly praise you. Real confidence grows when you are surrounded by those who encourage you, but also hold you accountable and push you to stretch beyond your comfort zone. These are the individuals who will celebrate your progress, but also remind you when you're capable of more. They won't let you settle for a lesser version of yourself. This kind of influence creates an environment where self-belief can flourish, because you are consistently reminded of your strengths while being nudged to develop new ones. Sometimes, the process of building a supportive circle requires making difficult decisions. You may have to limit time with certain people whose constant negativity, criticism, or self-sabotaging behaviors drain your energy. This doesn't mean you have to cut them off completely or treat them poorly, but it does mean setting boundaries that protect your mental space. Your confidence is too valuable to be repeatedly exposed to forces that chip away at it. You can also intentionally seek out environments where confidence is nurtured, places like mastermind groups, workshops, or communities dedicated to personal growth. Being part of a group with shared values and goals not only gives you motivation, but also normalizes success-oriented thinking. In these spaces, taking bold action is celebrated, and self-improvement is expected. Over time, you internalize these standards as your own. Even role models you don't personally know can become part of your mental circle. Books, podcasts, and videos from people who inspire you can fill your mind with empowering ideas and perspectives. Immersing yourself in this type of content changes the quality of your internal dialogue, making it easier to think and act with confidence. The more you feed your mind with stories of resilience, courage, and achievement, the more you begin to see those qualities as attainable for yourself. The relationships you cultivate are essentially a living reflection of your own standards. When you choose to align with people who lift you up, challenge you constructively, and model the kind of confidence you aspire to have, you create an upward spiral of growth. You begin to see yourself through the eyes of those who believe in you, and that vision becomes part of your identity. Taking consistent action is the bridge between knowing what to do and actually becoming the person you want to be. Many people spend years consuming information, planning, and waiting for the perfect moment to start, but that moment rarely comes. Confidence is not something you wait to feel before acting. It is something that grows because you act. Each small step you take sends a message to your mind that you are capable, that you can be trusted to follow through, and that you are moving toward your goals regardless of fear or uncertainty. Over time, these repeated actions accumulate into a deep belief in your own abilities. Consistency matters far more than occasional bursts of effort. When you commit to doing something every day, or at least on a regular, reliable basis, you train yourself to show up even when motivation fades. This builds an inner strength that cannot be shaken easily, because you no longer depend on external circumstances or moods to dictate your behavior. Every time you follow through on your commitments, you strengthen the muscle of self-trust, and self-trust is at the core of unshakable confidence. Taking action also allows you to gather real-world evidence of your capabilities. You might doubt yourself in theory, but when you see yourself accomplishing tasks, solving problems, and overcoming challenges, those doubts lose their power. Even if you fail, you prove to yourself that you can survive the setback and try again. This kind of resilience is impossible to develop from the sidelines. It only comes from engaging with life directly. There is also a compounding effect that happens when you take consistent action. At first, progress may be slow and the results may feel invisible, but each effort builds on the one before it. One day, you look back and realize that you have covered a tremendous distance, not because of one grand gesture, but because of the small, steady steps you refuse to skip. This realization fuels even more confidence as you recognize that you can rely on yourself to keep moving forward regardless of obstacles. Fear often shrinks in the face of consistent action. When you take steps regularly, you spend less time overthinking and more time doing, which prevents fear from growing into an insurmountable barrier. The more you act, the more you normalize the process of trying new things, taking risks, and adjusting when necessary. What once felt intimidating starts to feel familiar, and familiarity breeds comfort. This shift in perception makes it easier to tackle even bigger challenges over time. A key part of taking consistent action is breaking your goals down into manageable pieces. Overwhelming yourself with huge, vague ambitions can lead to procrastination and self-doubt. But when you focus on what you can do today, right now, you create momentum. That momentum becomes a source of motivation, which feeds back into your confidence. Each completed action, no matter how small, becomes a win you can build upon. It's also important to track and acknowledge your progress. Without taking the time to reflect on how far you've come, it's easy to overlook your own growth. Regularly reviewing your actions and accomplishments reinforces your sense of capability. It's a way of telling yourself, I am someone who follows through, who keeps going, who makes things happen. This identity, forged through repeated effort, becomes the foundation for confidence that lasts a lifetime. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is one of the most powerful yet underestimated ways to build unshakable self-confidence. The people, environments, and content you expose yourself to shape your thoughts, beliefs, and ultimately, your self-image. If you are constantly surrounded by negativity, whether it's people who criticize, doubt, or belittle you, it becomes harder to believe in your own potential. On the other hand, being in the company of those who uplift, encourage, and inspire you creates a fertile ground for growth and confidence. Human beings are deeply influenced by the energy of their surroundings. When you are around people who radiate optimism, resilience, and determination, it becomes contagious. You naturally begin to mirror their attitudes, behaviors, and habits. This doesn't mean you should only seek people who blindly agree with you. It means finding those who challenge you in a constructive way, push you to aim higher, and believe in your ability to succeed even when you doubt yourself. Their faith in you can act as a temporary anchor when your own self-belief feels shaky, helping you to stay on track until your confidence is strong enough to stand on its own. Positive influences also serve as examples of what is possible. Watching someone you admire achieve their goals through dedication and persistence can be more than inspiring. It can be instructional. You start to understand the mindset and actions required to create similar results in your own life. This exposure makes your own ambitions feel more attainable because you see living proof that success is not limited to a special few. It is available to anyone willing to put in the work and maintain the right mindset. In addition to people, the content you consume has a significant impact on your confidence. The books you read, the videos you watch, the podcasts you listen to, all of these inputs shape your thoughts and beliefs about yourself and the world. If your daily diet consists of messages filled with fear, scarcity, or comparison, your confidence will suffer. But if you deliberately choose material that educates, empowers, and expands your thinking, you'll begin to build a mental environment that supports your growth. This can mean immersing yourself in stories of perseverance, surrounding yourself with motivational talks, or studying the journeys of those who overcame great odds. Your physical environment matters too. An organized, uplifting space can influence how you feel and how you show up in life. Even small adjustments, like keeping reminders of your goals where you can see them, displaying affirmations, or removing clutter, can create a setting that supports your confidence-building efforts. When your environment reflects clarity, positivity, and purpose, it reinforces the mindset you want to maintain. It's also important to recognize that surrounding yourself with positive influences sometimes means making difficult choices about who or what to distance yourself from. Letting go of relationships or situations that consistently undermine your self-worth is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of self-respect.